I was on a hospital table, bright lights, cold sheet, a doctor's voice trying to sound calm, and then I glanced at the ultrasound screen and saw something I didn't want to see. The cord wrapped around her neck. And then everything moved fast. No epidural, just in tension. And then a scream, strong, piercing, sharp. I knew right away, she's okay. I burst into tears before I even saw her. And when they placed Julia on my chest, still slippery, still screaming, something inside me collapsed. And something else locked into place. It wasn't fear. It wasn't logic either. It was certainty. Not the loud kind, the quiet, irreversible kind. I'm not going back. Not to my attorney career, estate planning, courtrooms, deadlines, calendars that belonged to everyone else. I didn't have a plan. I didn't feel ready. I didn't know how it will all work, but I knew this. If I walked away from this moment, from her, I would never forgive myself. People love to say, "You'll know when you're ready." That's a lie. Ready isn't a feeling. It's a decision, a visceral one, the kind that lands in your body before it even reaches your brain. I didn't feel brave. I felt aligned. Aligned that no version of success would matter if I missed her becoming self. Aligned that I could figure out the how later, but I couldn't redo her childhood. Aligned that some decisions don't come with reassurance, only truth. And here is what I've learned since. The right decision rarely comes with calm first. Calm comes after you commit. You don't wait to feel safe to choose, you choose. And safety builds around the choice. If you're standing at the edge of something right now, if you keep waiting for certainty, permission, or proof, you may be waiting forever. But if your body already knows, if something in you has gone quiet and steady, that's not fear, that's alignment. And you don't need to explain it to anyone. I remember a few weeks later, holding Julia in my arms, her black, beady eyes staring up at me, and I realized something that almost took my breath away. I was her entire world, not metaphorically, biologically, anthropologically, neurologically. For 99% of human history, babies didn't grow up in nurseries or with the white noise machines and milestone charts. They grew up on their mother's body, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat, a regulated nervous system guiding a developing one. We were wired for proximity, which is beautiful and overwhelming because no one talks about this part. I was exhausted. My lower back throbbing from hours of nursing and carrying her in a wrap. She was colicky. I was sleep deprived. I was Googling at 1:12 a.m. Is this normal? And somewhere in that haze, I felt like I was supposed to dissolve. Like becoming a mother meant becoming only a mother and nothing else. Have you ever felt that? That strange disappearing where you love your child so much it hurts, but you also wonder where you went. And in the middle of that fog, I kept hearing, the first 6 years are everything. But when I researched, all I found were milestone charts. At 1 month, weigh this. At 3 months, roll over. At 6 months, sit. And I kept thinking, what about her identity? What about her confidence? What about her invisible wiring happening beneath the surface? Because here is what science tells us. In the first 6 years, the brain forms over 1 million neural connections per second. Per second. But those connections aren't just about motor skills. They are about beliefs. Am I safe? Do I matter? When I struggle, does someone steady me? This is not parenting as performance. This is identity formation. That's when I discovered the Montessori method. It felt like I had stumbled into a hidden universe, but it was overwhelming. The terminology, the pedagogy, the sensitive periods, the theory. I would read an entire book just to understand one concept. And I remember thinking, why isn't there a clear, structured, simple path for mothers like me? Mothers who are tired, mothers who care deeply, mothers who don't have time to decode academic language. That frustration became the seed for everything I have built. Because here's what I know now. The early years are not just about physical milestones. They're about identity, security, confidence, indirect preparation, the invisible foundations that determine how a child will relate to learning, to love, to themselves. And clarity changes everything. When you lie in bed replaying the day, when you Google at 1 a.m., is this normal? When you snap and feel guilt hit your chest 5 minutes later, when you wonder quietly, am I doing enough? That spiral you feel, it's not weakness, it's care, but without clarity. And care without clarity feels like anxiety. Because when you don't understand what's happening developmentally, every tantrum feels personal, every regression feels urgent, and every strong-willed moment feels like a verdict. But once you understand what's actually happening beneath the behavior, everything shifts. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop chasing milestones and start shaping identity, because leadership in parenting does not mean control. It means regulation. You become the steady nervous system in the room. That pause before you intervene, that's wiring resilience. The tone that you use when you say, I won't let you hit, that's wiring boundaries without shame. The 10 minutes of undivided attention, that fills an attachment tank that no toy ever could. You see, you don't need more tips. You need clarity. Because when you understand the why beneath the behavior, you move differently. And your child feels that. Now, let me step into your world. You close the door after bedtime, and instead of relief, there is a knot in your stomach. You replay the snap. You rushed, okay, fine. When you handed over the iPad, the pause you didn't take. You're standing in the kitchen, repeating yourself for the 5th time, feeling tension climb your neck. Later, you scroll, compare, question. At night, you wonder, is this what she'll remember? And then there is bedtime reading. You're skipping pages, not because you don't care, but because you are empty. You rush the story and lie there thinking, was that our golden time? Did I just miss it? You're afraid the time you do have isn't enough, and when you finally get it, you're too exhausted to fully live it. What you actually want isn't more strategies. You want to feel steady, present, certain that even on imperfect days, you're building something solid. You want to lead your home with calm authority, without sacrificing ambitious, high-capacity woman you are. You want to end the day with a deep breath instead of a mental audit. You want to feel like yourself again. So let's shift this. Let me give you 5 small shifts you can try this week. And then watch what happens. 1, slow your response by 5 seconds before you jump in to help, correct, rescue, or fix. Just pause. Count to 5. Most of the time, your child is right at the edge of figuring it out. And that tiny pause, it builds frustration tolerance, problem solving, real confidence, not confidence borrowed from you, the kind that rises from inside them. The quiet, powerful. I did that. But when you rush in, you become the juggler in a circus, keeping every ball in the air so nothing drops. But when you pause, you become the gardener. A gardener doesn't tug at the leaves to force growth. She prepares the soil, ensures safety, and then steps back, trusting the process unfolding. Anthropologically, this is how children learned for most of human history. In small communal societies, adults weren't hovering entertainers. They were steady anchors. Children explored, imitated, struggled, tried again with a regulated adult nearby. Modern research supports this instinct. Dr. Angeline Lillard's research on Montessori education, including the landmark 2006 study published in Science, found that children in child-led environments demonstrated strong executive functioning, social skills, and academic outcomes compared to peers in traditional settings. Why? Because executive function, impulse control, working memory, cognitive flexibility develops when a child struggles just enough to solve something independently. And developmental psychologist Dr. Alison Gopnik explains in The Gardener and the Carpenter that when we raise children like gardeners, nurturing conditions instead of controlling outcomes, we foster adaptability, creativity, and resilience. So when you pause, you're not doing nothing, you are strengthening neural pathways for persistence. You're protecting intrinsic motivation. You are wiring, I can try again. 5 seconds, that's it. And you will begin to notice more independence, not because you pushed for it, but because you made space for it. Now, number 2, lower your language. So when emotions rise, lower your words. Instead of long explanation, lectures, and negotiations, use fewer, clearer sentences like, shoes stay on the shelf. Milk stays on the table. I won't let you hit. You see, clear, calm, grounded. Here's what most high-capacity moms don't realize. The more dysregulated a child becomes, the less language their brain can process. In heightened emotional states, the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, goes offline, and the survival brain takes over. Long explanations don't soothe, they overwhelm. But simple, steady language communicates safety and leadership. Anthropologically, children evolved in environments where cues were direct and efficient. A calm, firm voice signaled structure. There wasn't a courtroom argument, there was clarity. When your language becomes concise, your energy shifts. You stop convincing and you start leading. And children regulate faster when they feel the adult in the room is steady. You'll notice fewer power struggles, not because you overpowered them, but because you removed the verbal chaos. Remember, fewer words, more authority, less friction. Now, moving on to number 3. Create one yes space. For example, choose one drawer, shelf, or basket that is completely accessible. No, don't touch it. No, be careful. No hovering. When a child has space where everything is allowed, behavior improves because their need for autonomy is being met. Now, number 4, protect 10 minutes of undivided attention. Set a timer. No phones, no multitasking, no teaching, just follow their lead. You see, connection before correction changes the tone of the entire day. Tantrums often decrease simply because their emotional tank is fuller. And finally, number 5, narrate effort, not outcome. Instead of saying, good job, try, wow, you kept trying. You carried that carefully. You didn't give up. You see, this builds internal confidence instead of external validation. And you'll start noticing them repeat behaviors without needing praise. And when you begin to see what's really happening beneath the surface, everything shifts. You move differently, you respond differently, you lead differently. And your child feels that. You've got this. If this resonated with you, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, follow the show so we can keep building this together. I'll see you in the next episode.